Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to Pro Cycling Manager 2021. Today we're doing another episode of our tutorial series, though this isn't necessarily a tutorial, it's an experiment. Run multiples of these of late to really get deeper understanding of the game. Now, this one is some fairly obvious stuff. There at least is a place where you draw the line, and so at least there's one important part that I hope to discover today, but most of this should be straightforward to most veteran players, but to a rookie player, this could be enlightening. I have a custom start list for my squad today. There is just 7 riders out on course. One of them is a baseline comparison, but then the other 6 take one extreme or another extreme, and we're going to draw these comparisons from throughout the squad. Can't quite help the slight variance in race day condition, but the points that we're trying to make with this one will still ultimately be quite obvious. Okay, at one end of the spectrum, we have DeLuna. DeLuna is 85 flat, 85 sprint, 85 stamina resistance. He is all speed. At the other end of the spectrum, I have Chung. Chung is 50s across the board, with 2 exceptions. I have given him and all 7 riders 85 stamina and resistance. I don't want that to be a variable that's going to affect what we're doing. But Chung will noticeably be slower as we cruise along, and he will be slower when we sprint. Now, our baseline guy is Aribe. He's your neutral man. He's a 70 flat, 70 sprint, with those 85s in stamina and resistance only. Unlike DeLuna, Navarra is somebody we have given something a little different. He has that same 85 flat rating, the stamina and the resistance, but only a 70 in both sprint and acceleration. What we're going to compare today is we're going to put these guys head to head in different places out on track, and we're going to see what sort of speed they get at similar effort levels, and you can see just how much faster a flat rating is going to impact these guys' riding speeds. But then we're also going to test the impact of the sprint. Now, for consistency's sake, I am lumping sprint and acceleration together. These are unique attributes, but they are quite simple in what they do. Acceleration is how fast a rider gets up to speed. It is not instantaneous. They do not go from 0 kilometers per hour to 50 kilometers per hour instantaneously. Acceleration is how fast that takes place. Sprint is your maximum speed. For the sake of this experiment, I am lumping those things together. All 7 of these guys have identical sprint and acceleration by themselves. So if you have 85 of one, you have 85 of the other. If you have 70 of one, you have 70 of the other. And in the case of low, you can see if you have 50 of one, you have 50 of the other. So he has 85 flat rating and a 50 sprint. Our other 3 guys are at the opposite end of the spectrum. They are 50s across the board, except in the same set of variables that we have for the sprint and acceleration. So Zervis, 50 flat, 85 sprint and acceleration. Raylanu, 50 flat, 70 sprint and acceleration. And the poor bottom feeder is Chung with 50-50 across the board. So I've now spread the riders out in the order in which we want to see them. So DeLuna, the fastest flat and fastest sprint. Behind him, Navarra, same flat but slower sprint, and then finally Low, the slowest sprinter. Aribe, our benchmark guy, 70s across the board. Zervis, slow flat but better sprint. Raylanu, and then Chung, weakest of all. They're all spread out roughly 30 seconds, but I'm not worried about the gap. The course, almost flat as a pancake, not entirely, but just about flat as a pancake, so the conditions are the same. They're all easily within that plus or minus 3 degrees, so we don't have to worry about any other ratings, but even if we were to worry about other ratings, they're still identical. Everybody's got that same either 85 or the same 50 across the board. Everybody's back to full strength. The only variable that is going to mess it up ever so slightly is the plus minus of the race day condition. Uribe is the only one who's off by more than a point, and he's the benchmark guy in the middle anyway. Fortunately, that's not going to impact things significantly. Here's what we're going to take a look at. DeLuna, you can see as he comes through here with 50 effort, is going 40 kilometers per hour. And you can see a slight fluctuation as he comes out of that corner. It goes to 42, but then it stabilizes back to 40. Here is Navarra, 40. Here's Low, just coming out of that same area where it had fluctuated. He's at 40. Uribe, also cruising at 40 kilometers per hour. Interesting. But Zervis, you can see, is a little bit slower. He's hovering down at about a 39. This is all low effort stuff. And you can see these guys just a little bit slower. That's at a low speed. Let's go ahead and speed things up a little bit in terms of their effort and see how that impacts the speed out on course. All right, so now everybody's set to a 75. Let's go ahead and find a straight section of road, and then we'll draw comparisons yet again. We can already see DeLuna is now pushing about 47, 48 kilometers an hour at 75% effort. Can we get a straight section? Okay, yes, coming up here in just a moment after we come out of this corner. That's straight enough. Okay, so yeah, 47, we've seen him hitting 48 a little bit. Navarra, 47, Low, 47. Okay, Uribe, slower. You can see he's only pushing 44, 45 kilometers an hour. Zervis, 43. Raylanu, 43. Chung, 43. You can definitely see, and as what was already obvious, unless you didn't know how the attributes work, your flat rating is how fast you go when you are between 3 degrees plus or minus. From 0 to plus 3 degrees, or from 0 to minus 3 degrees. That plus minus, if you're in that range, it uses your flat rating, and depending on what that attribute is, that is how quickly your rider travels on that pace. Now, I'm going to go ahead and back off again a little bit, give them a chance to recover. No, you know what? We have plenty of energy. Let's go ahead and see what is the max pace, 99 effort for each of these guys. All right, we cannot do this for long, so we've got to watch. 55 for DeLuna, 56. Navarra coming out of that little corner. He's doing 54. Low. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Stamina resistance a little better for DeLuna. Those are 87s. So they're getting just a little bit more pace than Low. Uribe. How fast is he going? 52. We have to pause because everybody's about to run out of red bar. 53, 51, 49. Definitely slower. Surprised that Uribe is not a little bit higher, though. All right, so that was all the obvious bit. On the flat, how fast you go depends on the flat rating. And you can definitely see that there's a good difference between a 50 and an 85. However, I'm a little surprised that it's not as massive as you would think, right? We were looking at maybe a 5 kilometer per hour difference when they got to really pushing their speed, and that was it. There's a roughly 5 kilometer per hour difference from a 50 to an 85. Kind of marginal. Now, of course, over time, over a long race, that's going to have an impact, right? If you have to work harder to keep your position in the peloton, if you're a 50 and somebody else is an 85, you're going to have to ride that much harder to stay there and stay with them. So if they went max effort, you wouldn't even be able to keep up with that because they would literally be quicker than what you are. But the main thing is that it's a more sustained effort to keep up. Reality is we're only talking about a 5 kilometer per hour difference, but it's going to take its toll. Now, the guys are nearly back to full strength. Then we're going to start testing the sprint. Now, the road's not entirely flat, or straight, that is, so it could impact things. However, we're going to start with a level 0 sprint, so a more sustainable sprint. Which, of course, they've only just added this one in this year, how hard you push the sprint. But what happens on a level 0 sprint? And I'm hoping we're going to see some similarities. DeLuna and Zervis should have a similar speed. Navarra and Raylanu should have a similar speed, along with Uribe. And then Low and Chung should definitely be slower. See if that's actually the case. Level 0 sprint. Got to give him a little time to get up to speed. That acceleration. Okay, begin that push. We do have one sustained sprint in Zervis, but we should see these guys at about max speed right now. For a level 0 sprint, that is. DeLuna, 56 kilometers an hour. It is faster than his flat rating, but only just. Navarra, 54. Low, 52. We definitely see a difference between them. Uribe, 54. Should be the same as Navarra. It is. Zervis, only a 54 there. So does the flat rating actually have an impact? Well, let's see if the other guys are also similarly impacted. Raylanu, only a 51. Chung, only a 50. Your flat rating does impact your sprint speed. Boom, we found something out. Okay, this is brilliant. Oh, this is wonderful. That is full-on confirmation because all three of them similarly were a couple kilometers per hour slower. And I wouldn't be surprised if Uribe with his 74 flat versus the 85 that Navarra is, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a couple tenths off Navarra's pace. He does have 73 sprint, 72 acceleration, same stamina resistance, but that 74 flat, he's seeing a pretty healthy bump. So he's not that far off from what Navarra has, who's seeing a 72 sprint right now. We're now going to push these guys a little harder. We're going to go half effort on the sprint and see how much more speed they can carry. DeLuna coming into a corner, not a good time, but we did see him get up to 60 kilometers per hour, 62, 63, 64 kilometers per hour. Okay, Zervis is doing 62. That's one we can confirm. So he is a little bit slower. We had 65 for DeLuna. Zervis only giving us 62. We're also seeing that they are sustaining their effort a bit longer. DeLuna and Navarra, okay, they had the corner, but look at, well, he's got the sustained. Never mind. Let's get everybody into recovery mode for a little bit. All right, so we've hit reset now. We've got everybody separated. None of the groups are about to overlap with each other, but one thing I've seen, we went from 30-second gaps, 30, look at the gaps now. We're really starting to see that separation, even though these guys have been locked in on doing the same things at the same time. Same effort, same amount of sprint effort, and yet those gaps are really opening. All right, here we go again on moderate effort. We don't have a straight stretch of road left, but what we have is this little stretch right here. If I can put them each through this one at a time, we can see from back here, right after you come out of the corner, for a little bit. So, DeLuna, by that bend, 62. Really we'll go ahead and back off. Navarra, he'll come around this corner, hit that point, and he is 58. Okay, Low is already at this point. Carry on a little bit further for him. Get him up to speed. 50. 50 is all. Medium effort sprint, and he's only doing 50. Make sure we're not too far off. Okay, Zervis is fine. Uribe, much better speed. 57. You can see how he's now gaining on Low. Now we're back into a decent position for where we want to be for the start of the sprint. Zervis, our 85 sprinter. You can see he's getting into 60. Just nips 61. So the sprint really matters. But it's not the same sprint speed as DeLuna, who was doing 63. Raylanu coming around the corner. Testing him out now. Decent sprinter, but low flat rating, and you can see he's only getting into 57. Chung, just straight up slow. Not much of an acceleration at all there. 49. With or without the max effort one later on, the results are quite obvious. Flat rating does impact your sprint speed. It is not the only thing. So it is your sprint combined with your flat. However, what we have discovered here. The flat rating is minor. The difference in flat rating is maybe 5 kilometers per hour just straight on the road. And that's at 99 effort. It's a smaller difference the lower the effort required. Again, at 30, we're talking about, well, what are we talking about? Let's see. 37 for DeLuna, 36, 37 Uribe, that little bit slower. He's a 35. Now these guys are still coming out of their sprint and slowing down. They still have a little momentum. There you go. See, now it's coming down. 35. Ray Lanu still just coming down off of that. 35 as he comes through there. So 35 by the time these guys are done slowing down. So 36 versus 35 is the difference we're talking about. A high 36 versus a low 35. 1.5 kilometers per hour at this effort level. Stretches to 5 as you go to a higher effort level. The impact is minor until you really get late in the stage and the tempo really starts to increase and they really start to push. It'll have an impact. Stamina resistance, I think, probably matters a bit more. Low stamina resistance is going to slow you down. Running out of yellow bar is going to slow you down much more than just simply the flat rating alone. The big discovery here is that your sprint speed does not work alone. Your sprint speed is not the only factor. It is impacted by your flat rating. From what we've seen here, I'd say we're talking about 2 kilometers per hour. The 85s to the 70 of Uribe, we were talking about under 1k per hour, maybe 800 or 0.8. But the 50s were definitely a full 2 kilometers per hour slower, even when they had the same sprint speed as their counterparts. Last thing that I want to test here, increasing the effort first to 70 here. You can see DeLuna now pushing 49 kilometers per hour. Navarra coming out, getting up to that same 49. Low just coming off the corner there. Uribe upping that effort to a 70. The kind of speed that these guys are turning, we saw 49 and then 44. So we're actually already seeing about a 5 kilometer difference at 70 effort. This may be hard to test on this final technical part of the circuit that we're going to be looping around again and again, but we're going to compare top speed now at just riding versus the sprint speed. So we have 57 kilometers an hour, 55, just 39, but Low also coming around a corner right now. Uribe 51, Zervis, and you see these guys are that little bit lower. Chung coming around a corner. We're going to see what happens when we go full sprint, full send. And here we go. DeLuna getting up to a maximum speed, 70 kilometers per hour. Navarra pushing 66. Low, 52. He is slower sprinting than he is on the flat. We'll confirm that in a moment. He's just come to the end of his sprint time. Uribe, 62. Zervis just 31, but he is on a corner. See him get back up to speed, and there it is. He hit 69 for just a brief second. You can see he's at 67 otherwise as he's just starting to slow up, and see that speed drop back down to that low flat rating. Ooh, look at Uribe, who's almost caught Low because Low is such a weak sprinter. Low has just become the perfect test subject. Here he is, 99 on the flat. And he's doing 50 kilometers an hour. That's without any red bar. I can't sprint him right now, but let's give him a chance to recover a little bit. Uribe's going to have to back off as well. All right, here we go. Low, 99 flat, is doing just barely 51 kilometers an hour. We saw it hovering. Now, coming out of there, full sprint, 54 kilometers an hour. So, his sprint added to the flat rating, it must be, but at a 50 sprint, Low barely added 3 kilometers per hour to his flat rating, and that was full send. That was max effort. Let's give Low another shot here. Okay, 99 effort. Let's see, he's just hitting 51, 52 kilometers an hour. Full sprint, max effort, still 52. There's 53, 55 just hitting. So yes, he's only gaining about 2.5 to 3 kilometers per hour on full send with a sprint that is that low. So it's very telling that your sprint, it makes a difference, but it is very much impacted by your flat rating, and a low sprint actually isn't giving you a lot of additional speed. Alright, speed test. DeLuna, max 55, pushing to 70. So he's gaining 15 kilometers per hour on a full send sprint. So your variance, you're going from +3 to about +15, which is a pretty wide range. We're talking about a 12k per hour difference. But what about somebody, quick additional test, Zervis, max speed, 53 on the flat. He's the 50 rated. And when he goes max speed here, we're talking about an additional 20 kilometers per hour. So the min-maxing definitely having an impact. Just for fun, the race to the end, these guys coming up 1.5k, full sprint, full send for all of them. And these guys, 700 meters to go. Let's go ahead and give them their sprint as well. DeLuna, you can see just how much faster he is getting up to speed.
Congratulations! He showed determination to add this.
Really just two takeaways. I started with the idea of trying to see, is an 85 flat rating going to be faster than a 50 sprint? It's not. The 50 sprint does add on to it, but only marginally. But the biggest takeaway that I've had is that sprinters with the same amount of sprint capability, but less of a flat rating, actually are impacted. Your flat rating does have an effect on your sprint. Again, it's only marginal, but it does have an impact. That is the one big takeaway from this experiment. Take that with a grain of salt, because again, it's marginal gains, marginal differences. But it absolutely is a difference. It does have an impact. So your flat rating will slightly alter your overall sprint speed. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. And bye for now.